up, fuzzball.
From down under.
Do. Or do not. There is no try.
G'day, mate. How you going? G'day, mate. How you going? This is your pal, Adam O'Brien, the Fantha from Down Under, and this is episode number 12. That's right, the 12th episode of this here podcast, coming to you live from Quinlan's Cantina in the Gold Coast of Australia. And folks, well, this week we're going to be looking at Solo: A Star Wars Story now that it's out digitally everywhere. And I'll tell you what, I had a mission and a half trying to get Apple TV onto a normal TV, and you guess what? I figured out it didn't work. Well, I found a smart TV, and I wasn't so smart to put it together with Apple TV, but now I've figured it out, and I've been watching some Solo: A Star Wars Story. And let's just face it, this is a great flick. It is the best of the Disney era of Star Wars films. The release is great. We've got some great, again, deleted scenes as they always do. They finish them off and put them out on the film. The film looks amazing digitally. And let's just say the behind the scenes look fantastic. And the fact that we actually have speeders built on a V8 chassis. That's right, a V8 that's got screaming around the place. No wonder Alden Ehrenreich had a great time playing Han Solo. That's right. So tonight, we're going to get straight into our interview with our guest tonight. We have my dear pal and fellow Star Wars fan, Eric Onkenhout, joining us here on the show to chat a little bit of Star Wars. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Fantha Tracks Radio's The Fantha from Down Under. I'm your host, Adam O'Brien, and coming to you live from Quinlan's Cantina in the Gold Coast of Australia. Joining me all the way from Boston in the United States of America is a dear friend, and he is a Star Wars fan just like the rest of us as well, and he loves Star Wars. That's right. Joining me here is Eric Onkenhout. Mate, how are you?
Hey, Adam. Good to see you again.
Good to see you again too, buddy. Mate, how you been?
I've been very well. Thank you very much. How have you been?
Yeah, really good, really good. Obviously, we caught up on my previous show on my old network, but now on the UK's Fantha Tracks Radio, we're here to chat about Star Wars today. And what a time to be a Star Wars fan. We have Solo just about to release on digital forms. It's just come out here today. And I'm going through some of the special features a little bit later on today. But what are you looking forward to in the digital release?
I always like the extra footage. I always watch that first, and then I watch the movie. Because I've seen the movie already. So I want to watch the behind the scenes, the extra deleted scenes, and then I'll watch the movie.
Nice, yeah, same here. And I'm the same. Like, I'm somebody that wants to, I've seen the movie in the cinemas. I've seen it, maybe 2 or 3 times. And I actually I saw it here in Australia at a drive-in movie theatre, which was pretty cool.
Oh, cool. We have one near me, that's pretty rare.
Oh, wow, yeah. It's rare out here too. I do believe this is the last one in Australia. So,
wow.
Yeah, we didn't get to see a lot of the great ones over the years there. I think the last movie I saw in the drive-in was Xanadu.
Oh, my gosh.
It's a few years ago, I think.
Yeah, my sister had that soundtrack on record.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I was 6.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a double bill. It was Greystoke, Tarzan, Lord of the Apes movie with Christophe Lambert, and then it had Xanadu afterwards. And I didn't know until recently, because I hadn't seen even that one since then. When we got the DVD for Greystoke, that Ian Holm was one of the guys in the film, one of the cast members. I'm like, wow. So. Yeah, a little bit of a touchstone of having an immortal, Christophe Lambert with Bilbo Baggins.
I have a little secret to tell you, is that I have a few songs from Xanadu on my iPod.
Oh my goodness! There you go. Actually, Xanadu, I was looking at a little while ago when I watched, I think it was Warriors. So the film Warriors, there was a Blu-ray release that came out of that. And anyway, we're going through the cast because a lot of the cast aren't probably not big stars now, except for maybe David Patrick Kelly, who was the main bad guy that had those little beer bottles in his hand. Here we go, Warriors!
Warriors! Yeah.
Come out to
play.
play. He's great. And, of course, he was famous for later being held over the top of a cabin by Arnold Schwarzenegger. He goes, "You know, Sully, how I was going to kill you last? I lied." And he lets him go.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's great. He would turn up in random stuff all the time. And he actually even played, I think, the president in Letters for Letters for Iwo Jima? It was Flags of Our Fathers, one of those movies. I can't remember that Clint Eastwood did. But yeah, the rest of the cast had been sparingly in different stuff, but the main actor, whose name escapes me right now, was in Xanadu as the main lead, and he was also in Babylon 5.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so there you go. So yeah, it's funny how you might look at one film, but things like IMDb are always great to rekindle a bit of, I think, lost movie trivia sometimes.
Yes.
It really is.
Definitely.
Oh, definitely. So, to warm up our trivia chords, I have a little bit of Star Wars Top Trumps quiz with a twist, it's called, to go through.
Okay.
So I'm going to randomly, we're not even looking at the cards, I'm just going to pick up whatever, and we'll go from there. All right, first question. Where does Poe Dameron hide the information that Lor San Tekka gives him about Luke Skywalker's location?
In BB-8.
Perfect. Well done, well done.
Okay.
All right, so that's a nice good one. All right, here we go.
I'm afraid I'm going to choke. Overthink it.
All right, here we go. Which opening crawl begins with, "It is a period of civil war"?
A New Hope.
Perfect. Well done, mate.
Okay.
We're going well so far. There we are. All right. We'll just do 5 of these. So third one, here we go.
Okay.
Where are we? Oh, this is good. What does Yoda say is a flow that is more and more common among Jedi, even the older, more experienced ones?
Overconfidence?
Yeah, basically it is, yeah. So overconfidence and arrogance, yeah. Being too sure of themselves, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, we'll call that correct, for sure. All right. Oh, this is a good one. Here we go. What are Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme riding on Geonosis when they're surrounded by destroyer droids?
A Reek.
Correct. Very good.
Wow.
Actually,
Sometimes I amaze even myself.
Hey, that's a quote from Star Wars too. All right. Who takes Jar Jar Binks to the bosses when he returns to Otto Gunga? Is it Boss Naz, Rep Leone, or Captain Tarpos?
I want to say Captain Tarpos.
And you'd be right. So 5 out of 5,
okay.
mate. Well done.
Thanks.
Well done. It's always good. These are great little... between this and probably the Trivial Pursuit game, I'd have to say, these are really good for particularly everyone from fans like ourselves, which obviously live and breathe Star Wars a little bit more than the regular movie fan. But the other it sort of covers enough of the base within the films that anyone can enjoy that game.
Yeah. So I have a Trivial Pursuit. It covers the original trilogy, and I think it came out right before Episode 1. So a little bit of like special edition and like Phantom Menace.
Oh, nice.
And me and a friend of mine used to play. He's a huge Star Wars fan too. And it would be one of our turns for like a long time, and we finally got one wrong.
Oh wow! Oh wow! It's interesting. Like I got the last time I played Trivial Pursuit, the ones I got wrong ended up being ones that should know straight away, and it was the tough ones that I would know like that.
Yeah.
It's funny how you kind of, I think we take for granted some of what we do with like trivia-wise with Star Wars, because we it's such a big expansion of the universe over the years, whether it's in the books or the new TV shows, and it's only going to get bigger. So, yeah, I always find that interesting. You go, oh, wow, okay, I should have known that from Return of the Jedi or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know?
You start, like, overthinking or stuff like that.
Oh, definitely.
But
So, last week we had Star Wars Resistance full trailer out in all necks of the woods. And got to say, from my own point of view, I love, first of all, the animation. I love the feel, which is kind of, when you look at it, it's about racing. So it's got that Star Wars pod racer feel to it, because we've got a home base that everyone's at, and they're souping up their rides, basically. And there's kind of a Robotech feel, don't you think?
Yeah. See, I heard Filoni say that he was really into World War II aircraft, and that's why it's about what it is, which I'm also very much into. I love fighter jets and all that stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. I love the trailer. I thought the ships look so cool. They're like the best part of the whole thing.
Oh, they are. And they're kind of, it's hard to tell whether they're meant to be starfighters or just like atmospheric craft, which will be interesting to find out in the show itself. But I love that they're sort of, I suppose, almost like test fighters, if you like. Like they're, it reminds me of an anime from years ago, which my dear friend Richard Epcar, how are you doing, Richard, if you're listening today, was a part of. And that is, of course, the one, the only Macross Plus. And he brought his amazing baritone voice to play one of the characters in that one. And that's all about, again, test planes or test fighters, in this case with Mecha. And I think it's going to follow that line.
Well, isn't one of the characters' names Yeager? So that automatically made me think Chuck Yeager.
That's right. Actually, folks, if you haven't got Chuck Yeager's Facebook page as part of what comes up in your wall, do it, because he brings up such golden info when it comes to the stuff that he's done as a test pilot. Funnily enough, a friend of the family who lives in Reno, Nevada, was actually one of the test fighter pilots for some of the F-100 Sabres and stuff like that. And I don't know how well he knew Yeager, but some of the stories are just how ballsy you had to be to get behind these experimental craft, because you're basically riding a rocket, basically.
It's basically like an engine with the seat.
Yeah.
I just watched The Right Stuff for the first time last month.
That's a great film, isn't it?
The long movie.
It is, but it's an amazing film.
Yeah, I think about halfway through it, I started to get like more interested, because they were starting to go through the training, what they had to do to prepare. Because I didn't know anything about that stuff, so I guess they had to send each pilot up in space on their own first. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was a good movie.
Oh, definitely. And what I think about it is whether it's yourselves obviously learning about this in the United States or out here, I think it's interesting to find the different developments as they've come along, and find obviously the people that have pioneered it, but also how it has advanced that technology. So whether it's people reaching the moon with the Apollo missions, or just breaking atmosphere, which was a lot. Yeah. I mean, it's been only in the last couple of years we've had things like I think Red Bull, of all companies, had somebody do the longest, highest parachute jump in the world ever.
Red Bull. Okay.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's on YouTube. I'll send you a link later. It's basically a guy went right up to the top. The jumper, I can't remember his name, but it's past the stratosphere, and literally was stuck in space. And he was in a little capsule, and he had his own little setup of basically everyone telling him, right, you're at such and such a height, get ready. And he had to go through the whole list of stuff, just like an astronaut would, basically, before he could release. And then you can actually see him coming through the clouds like a bullet. I mean, it was coming and he had to have the protection that, obviously, like a shuttle comes down, or any object, you're going to get the heat. So you had to have that heat resistance as well. But, the fact that he landed on his feet, just chill, he's just like, yep, okay, let's do it again.
Wow.
Bugger that.
That's amazing.
I'm like, I ain't doing that.
No. I like being on the ground.
Same here, mate. 2 feet on the ground. I'm the same. It's a little bit like Bruce Willis in Die Hard when he's, I'm the same. Every time I take a flight, at the start he's kind of like, what's the way to get away from, the feeling of flight? And he says, take your shoes off, walk around on a rug barefoot, and make fists with your toes.
Sounds good to me.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So here we're going to be chatting a little bit of Star Wars. Obviously, Resistance, great trailer. I'm really interested to see where we're going to go. Now, I think all we're seeing in that trailer really is probably just the premiere episode. I don't think it's just going to stay in the one spot. I think we're going to see a lot more planets, a lot more characters. But what's going to be interesting is that Cold War angle. I mean, it really has a... I want to get your thoughts on this too. I think it's going to be touching base on the advancements in the 1950s jet aircraft.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks good. I love the animation also. I don't know what it's going to be about. I know it takes place 6 months before The Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm.
Those shows, those animated shows, they always kind of start off kind of tame, and then they work into the more heavy stuff later on. So, I mean, we've only seen a teaser.
That's right.
So it's really, you can't really tell too much from that other than like what it's going to look like.
Oh, 100%. And I think you're right. You look at the Clone Wars, how humble that amazing show started. And I kind of think about where it's gone to. I mean, who would have thought season 5 we would have, the likes of Dooku and, how he sort of wrapped out that whole mystery from Attack of the Clones with obviously Sif Dyas, coming in the way he did, which was a really exciting bit. And also then Maul coming back and going, you know what? I'm going to make my own rule of 2,
Yeah. In The Witches, Mother Talzin, I mean, show didn't really start to get going for me until season 3.
That's right. Now, what a lot of people don't know is, had it kept going, you were going to go and see these guys in the series.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Vong.
Can you imagine the Yuuzhan Vong in an animated spectrum? I mean, it could have happened. It may happen. You never know yet because, guess what? What's back? Clone Wars.
Yeah. Oh, man. I never thought I'd see the day.
I know.
I wasn't really like... I wasn't one of those Clone Wars save people. I just kind of like accepted the fact that it wasn't coming back. So when it was announced, I'm like, no way. I think I had a lot of the same sentiment as a lot of people when the trailer started playing. I'm like, oh, what is this, like a tribute?
No.
What's going on? And when they started showing new footage, I'm like, oh my God. I think I may have cried a little bit.
Yeah, I got emotional too. And the one that got me was, it was not the second part of the trailer where they come into the war room or whatever it is, and meet together again. It was not that. It was the one where that you see all the helmets, and it was the radio footage. It was kind of like, righto, Breaker 10, here we go. We've got this, and I'm like, because what got me about the Clone Wars is, and it's funny because, I'm a Vietnam veteran's son, so I know all about the sort of radio talk that they do, whether it's on Huey's or vice versa, and that military jargon that they used, the alphanumerics and stuff like that. And that really felt like the real deal. So when they're talking about landing the gunships and the troops getting on the ground, it was really well done. I mean, for sci-fi, I mean, let's face it, it's a kids' show. But
and that's all D. Bradley Baker's voice.
Oh, all of it. It's amazing.
I know.
It's
ridiculous.
And I think see how they go with it, but if they ever go live action in and around that era, I know they've got Tamura Morrison obviously played the live action quota of it, but I think even Tem would say, look, let D. Bradley do the clones. Let him do the clones, because at the end of the day, he's done more of it. And I think he's done... Yeah. He is Rex to me. He is... No matter what you do, it's Rex. It's Cody. It's always... my favourite, personally, is Cody.
Yeah, I like Rex. it's funny because a lot of those characters get fleshed out in the Clone Wars. So when you think of like Obi-Wan or Anakin or Padme, I think a lot of the times most people think of the actors that played them in the Clone Wars and not the prequels.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, and it's interesting like that. I mean, you look at even Kenobi, obviously played by different people through. There's been how many now? So you got Alec Guinness, Ewan McGregor, James Arnold Taylor, and we also have
Bradley Baker.
D. Bradley Baker, and who did it in Rebels? I'm thinking.
I think it was James Arnold Taylor.
Oh, okay.
No. It was D. Bradley Baker, the one where he defeated Maul for the second time.
Yeah. It was a D. Bradley, or was that Stephen? What's his name? I'm trying to think. You're right.
D. Bradley Baker.
Yeah. And what's interesting is because now we've had photos of Ray Park next to Sam Witwer, so you got the two Mauls together now. You only need the voiceover actor from I suppose the first film, episode 1, Peter. I'm going to try Serafinowicz. Yeah, at last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. All that sort of stuff. Great stuff. But imagine to have them all in the same room. It's
great.
great.
A Star Wars show, like consecutive weeks. I think Sam Witwer was on last week, and then
and Ray, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And he had and Andy had that great interview with him. Andy's great when it comes to the interviews because she's a fan like we are, and I like the fact that she asks the kind of questions I suppose we would. I mean, this is the great thing that Lucasfilm do, and hats off to you guys. The fact that you hire people that, first of all, care about the brand because they're fans. Second of all, put the passion of their fandom into what they're doing and have fun.
I think that's like. I'd say 99% of the people that work at Lucasfilm are Star Wars fans first.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And that's what's so great about it, I think. You've got people that really care. And, they get into it as much as we do. I think it's fantastic. Now, speaking of that, we were talking a bit off air just before about soundtracks. Now, for you guys out there who are into LPs and stuff like that, you'll like this. I've picked up one. It's John Williams, the Boston Pops, Out of This World. And what's interesting is that Eric also has somebody in his family who has the same one but on CD.
Yep, my dad's.
It's amazing. What I love about these is not just the artwork, but there's a lot more info. They really give you... It's a bit of an art piece when you get one of these. And, this one covers everything from 2001, E.T., Alien, Jaws, and Battlestar Galactica, which was always great. So again, it's a little bit of everyone, but John Williams conducting the entire lot. So it's interesting because it's his, I suppose, ode, if you like, to all those others. So that's a great one. And if you are, I don't think this is Star Trek, I suppose it is. It's a medley, and also from Disney's The Black Hole. The Mega one, which is great.
That one I do not have.
And this one's fantastic. It's basically a group of different musicians, and it's all produced by Miko Monado. And basically it's different medleys from both Star Trek, the show, the film, and also a little bit of, I think it's Wrath of Khan, if I remember, in there too. But then they on the second side, it's music from Disney's The Black Hole, which my pals from Phantom Podcast Network absolutely love.
That's good stuff.
It is. But when we really get down to it, I think what's great about the music like that too is that, I think John Williams really, influenced so many different people. And I was only talking about his other scores the other day with somebody, and they talk about, and I didn't know enough about his TV credits. He did the original Lost in Space.
Yes, he did. I actually knew that. I knew something you didn't know for once.
Nice.
If you look at the credits, he's called Johnny Williams.
That's right, he is too. Yeah.
Johnny.
Wow. Yeah. There you go. There's something you find, sometimes here and there. that you don't know. And I didn't know that one, so.
Finally.
I know, right? Now, obviously, last year we chatted, but there's been a couple of new Star Wars films since then, so I want to get your thoughts on, we're going to start with December's release last year, Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. This film came out, and obviously, in a response to The Force Awakens, a lot of, let's say, fans who I think get exactly what they want each time. They get a Star Wars film that's very entertaining, but they always have something to whinge about. And one of their things was, it was too derivative. Episode 7 was just A New Hope all over again. Well, you know what? They got what they wanted. They wanted a Star Wars film they hadn't had before. And guess what? They got it.
Yeah. And then guess what? We're crying again.
Yeah. And so what did you think of the film, mate? What were the things that you enjoyed about it?
So what did I think about it? So, like, first time any time a new Star Wars movie comes out, I always go with my niece and her husband. It's like a tradition. And so we left the theater that night, and I remember the three of us were like looking at each other like, what the heck was that? I mean, we all liked it, but we didn't know what to think of it. Mm-hmm. It was pretty deep for a Star Wars movie. And it was the first time I was like, I don't know. Until I went back the second time, which was like the next night. And I loved it.
Mm.
I think it's like the most artistic film, Star Wars film. And it's different. It's very different, but it's also, it's very Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. And it's different. So, I don't know how you can complain about that. So.
Plus, it's also Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, that too.
A lot of people sort of said, I'm trying to figure out what this film felt like. And I remember somebody, talking to me about it, and they'd seen it maybe 3 times, and you're like, well, yeah, okay, I get it. Poe Dameron is basically Apollo in this. He's trying to lead the fleet away to safety, and they've lost their home. They've lost, again, it's that sort of, nomadic existence that the Resistance has become. And that's part of the story of this trilogy. It is. It's finding a new home and making the era safe again.
That's true.
So it's an influence, but it's funny how Star Wars influenced Battlestar, but now Battlestar influenced Star Wars.
Yeah. Yep.
I love that.
The circle is now complete.
Yeah, that's right. So what did you think of that amazing opening? Obviously, we've got this movie takes place pretty much right off the heels of the first film. And we have the evacuation of Dakar, and we get to see an amazing opening with a souped-up, supercharged X-Wing with Poe. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, the opening scene where the camera kind of zooms down at Dakar, and it goes through those ships that are, I think, leaving.
Yep.
And I remember seeing that in 3D.
Oh, wow.
And I actually saw it in 3D with Richard and Sarah from Skywalking Through Neverland because they were visiting, and they were in town, and I went with them too and a few other people, and that was kind of, it gave me the willies for a second because it was 3D and it got all these ships coming at me, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool scene. That was probably one of the better beginnings of a Star Wars movie, if you ask me.
Yeah, I'm told it's kind of like a little bit like when I think in 3D that's similar is probably Avatar, at the start of Avatar, where you have that huge colony ship coming, or not colony ship, but the colonial ship that goes out to Pandora, and it's coming past you with all the shuttles and stuff like that. Cameron got that part right. He really got the sort of the density, I suppose, of the visual. And especially when you got inside the ship and everyone's waking up and Sam Worthing's like, oh, g'day, mate, how you going? Where am I? And looking around, that's one thing. Yes, folks, Sam does break that Australian accent in there, here and there in Avatar if you listen to it. So, so there you go.
That's fun.
But what's interesting too is I love the opening too with that. Obviously, we find out that Billie Lourd, so obviously Carrie's daughter, playing the same role from Force Awakens, is a bigger part of this. And I really love that now she's, by this film, really taken into first of all a speaking role, which is great. We finally have a character, but I think let's hope episode 9 give her a bit more time in front of the camera. She's fantastic.
I think that will happen.
Mm-hmm. I hope so. It'd be the way to do it. But yeah, and what I love too is we've got new officers in the First Order who just think they're fantastic and get what they're just deserved by the end of this entire opening sequence with Captain Kennedy and that huge new dreadnought. But we also have General Hugs.
I'm not a huge fan of that guy, I gotta say.
Yeah, he's good. Have you ever seen the movie Dread?
Once. Like a year ago.
So do you remember his part in that?
No, wait. Maybe not. Maybe I think I've seen it, but I don't remember anything about it.
Okay, so in Dread, he plays one of the guys that works for the building. So the building where Dread gets caught inside, and he's basically the computer technician, if you like, of the bad guys. So he's Mama, as her name is in it. She basically makes him lock the place down, make sure all the security's in place, and that the Dread and his partner are caught inside. They can't get out.
Okay.
So he's the one with the eyes. His eyes have got like computer readouts inside, things like that. So, and there's Domhnall Gleeson, son of Brendan Gleeson from In the Bruges, and also Braveheart. He played Mel Gibson's Offsider in that one, which is Hamish. The guy goes, I should have remembered the stones, hey?
Your film knowledge is like beyond comprehension.
It's out there. He's
You have a memory like I've never seen.
It's all in here, mate. I only keep the stuff that's useless. No, Brendan Gleeson's great. He's one of those actors that I think should be in Star Wars too. Bring him in. He's awesome.
Yeah. You know who I'd like to see in Star Wars, but it won't ever happen. Is,
Tom Hanks?
Oh, what's his name? He Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh God, that'd be great. Yeah, but I think he's retired now.
He is retired. Yeah, unfortunately.
He would be fantastic in Star Wars. I agree, because again, he becomes a character fully. Like no matter what he does, he becomes a character. Actually, surprisingly, we were talking about him yesterday. I had one of my old podcast buddies, Brad Macker, here, and we were watching the film Sylvester Stallone's Cliffhanger. And the composer that did that film did Last of the Mohicans. And believe it or not, if you listen to it, there's little bits and pieces of the Mohicans music in Cliffhanger.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Once Macca had told me about it, I went, oh, wow, yeah, I actually see that. And through as it played, and you're like, wow, that came out of nowhere. I kind of like, I can kind of see it being that, and I think Gangs of New York, he was fantastic in. That was hands down.
I just watched The Phantom Thread, I think last week or the week before. That was his last movie before he retired.
I haven't seen that yet. So, is it a good movie?
It's very good. It's one of those movies where there's no action. It's just like, it's very, the pace is a little slow, but you're just so enthralled with like the acting. It's like you don't even care about the pace. You're just like, these people, it's like you're not even watching a movie. It's like you're watching real life. People, it was really good.
He was great in There Will Be Blood.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic.
That was great. I didn't even realise it was him until about a third of the way through. I was watching it at my parents' place. I was over there for breakfast. Yeah. And
Lincoln too.
Oh, yeah, fantastic. And that's I think the thing is, with his roles, there's only one role I've really sort of picked him out in that he was just doing what he does. But, and that was The Bounty with Anthony Hopkins and Mel Gibson. Now, this is very early Australian film, and it's all about The Bounty with Fletcher Christian and Captain Bligh, and basically it was a British. The history of it for you listeners out there that may not know, history is that basically Captain Bligh and Fletcher Christian had a ship that they were on going around the bottom of South Africa, and they're on their way, I think, to the islands and stuff like that. But anyway, they had a meeting of the ways where they basically didn't agree on things, and Fletcher basically commandeered the ship. And
Yeah.
But anyway, it's got a great performance by Anthony Hopkins. It's very pirate-like, where he goes, "Damn you, sir, damn you, yeah, you're not taking my ship," all that sort of stuff. And it actually sounds like a pirate. It's quite good. But there's a famous Jedi Master on that ship too, believe it or not, along with the King of Rohan.
No kidding. So who's the Jedi Master?
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna have to try and see if I can do this, and you got to try and figure out if you know who the Jedi Master is.
Okay.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want, but you will use the light side of the Force.
Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson, that's right, yeah.
I had a feeling it was going to be him.
And he was doing it at a time where he was doing movies like Kroll. He did quite a few American films at the time, but he was also a day player, basically. So he's doing a lot of work for the studios at the time, where they go, right, we need a really burly 6'6" guy to come in and play this role. And he would just chill out in the background, just smiling, going, "Righto, when's our tea break? Come on."
Yeah. What a cast, though, huh? Daniel Day-Lewis, Anthony Hopkins, Liam Neeson, Mel Gibson.
Yep, that's right. And the King of Rohan. I can't remember his name. Yeah, the captain for the Titanic, basically, the same guy.
I'm going to have to check that out.
You have to check it out. Who also is in a film worth checking out called Franklin.
Franklin. Okay.
And this is Ryan Phillippe's, let's say, gothic comic hero movie.
Right.
You haven't seen that one?
No.
So this is basically, came out about, I think, 2009 or 2008. And it's about a war veteran who comes home, who's having basically delusions of reality around him. He thinks he's in London in a sort of, I suppose, a steampunk environment, and that he's a hero taking out the bad guys. But in actual fact, he's basically a veteran with PTSD. So there's interesting parallels where you see the story from his side and the story from the real side.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it kind of flew under the radar, It didn't get a theatrical release out here, believe it or not. And, I think it should have. It's a fantastic film. But, anyway, back to Star Wars.
Get sidetracked.
I get sidetracked, yeah. So, Timothy Zahn's been a busy boy. He's always been a busy boy. And believe it or not, he's been so busy that Lucasfilm gave him a call and they said, hey, buddy, how you going? How would you like to write another book? And he said, yeah, fine. And, of course, he did. And he did a sequel in ways to, of course, Star Wars Thrawn. And we get Star Wars Thrawn Alliances, which is, I think, one of his strongest stories in a little while. But let's get your thoughts on it, Eric. You've read the book. What did you think?
I liked it better than Thrawn. I'll tell you that much.
Mm-hmm.
I liked how it would go from Anakin and Thrawn. So is this spoilers? This
go for it, mate. It's been out long enough that if people haven't read it, guess what? Too bad.
So, it was Anakin and Thrawn and then Vader and Thrawn. I think going back and forth was done pretty well. Because I remember reading Last Shot and I was getting confused, the timeline. So I like that. I kind of felt like Vader was kind of Thrawn's kind of lapdog. I mean, it didn't really, and he kind of, I know Thrawn was in charge and put in charge by the Emperor and all that stuff, but I kind of felt like they should have been working together more instead of Thrawn was kind of like telling them what to do all the time. But and then he was keeping secrets from Vader, and I kind of feel like that was on purpose, just to keep the story going. I mean, I did like the book, but it's funny. I know we're going to talk about Solo later on, but after finishing Solo, and that was a blast to read, I look back on Thrawn Alliances, and it felt kind of cold to me. And I'm like, well, I guess that's appropriate because that's how Thrawn is.
So, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it, and it's very character driven. This story,
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's one of the strengths that Timothy has. I mean, you go back to Heir to the Empire, or even the Cobra books that he does. Yes, I read quite a few of his books outside of Star Wars as well. He's a very, let's say, they're character driven to a point, but he's somebody that knows his military lore, and in some ways, Sherlock Holmes-like delivery of this guy. When Sherlock Holmes is always a cold character, there's non-emotion in it. That's why you've got Watson. Watson is the human part to that. So it's kind of like an operating mechanism, if you like. And that's pretty much what Thrawn is. You know, Thrawn is somebody who looks at things outside the box, because I think he's more a machine. I mean, even more so than Vader. You know, he's kind of like, all right, here's the rebels. This is how they're attacking us. Right, it's a standard pattern. How would I do? And he's like a computer. He computes what the outcome would be. Right, well, I'm going to use gravity wells. Boom, 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 boom. Surrounds his, and basically, a little bit like Genghis Khan, or even like, you know, any famous, Hannibal or whatever. He would work something that would surround his enemies and be able to basically cut the head of the snake pretty much quickly.
Yeah, it's very calculating. It got to the point where I was reading it, and I must have been close to the end, because I was actually getting a little fed up with how precise he was with everything. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm like, is this guy, I mean, I know he's not a human, but he's close enough where it's like, how can this guy be so, I don't know, I'm trying to be PG here. He's just so rigid.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, lighten up, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I you know what's funny is that I think to myself, I don't like the Empire, or as Luke would say, I hate the Empire, but I would work for Thrawn any day of the week, because I know he's going to get the job done.
Yeah.
And he treats his people pretty well for an Imperial, you know.
He does.
Officer.
Even in the old books with Pelion, you know, he's offside. You know, like everything was by the book, but he also rewarded people. You know, if you did something for him, he looked after you. I think the other thing I like about this book is we get to see Galaxy's Edge Batu in the film. Book. Yeah.
G'day mate, how you going? This is Adam O'Brien, the Fantha from Down Under. And like George Lucas, there's another George out there. That is George Miller, and he created an amazing franchise by the name of Mad Max. On Fandom Podcast Network's Couch Potato Theatre, in a 4-part episode series, I host Maximum Couch Potato, looking at all of the films in the franchise, along with Kevin the Raider Nerd Reitzel and Kyle Wagner. We look at each of these films. We've done 1979's Mad Max. We've also done The Road Warrior, or known out here in Australia as Mad Max 2. But soon, airing on the show, we have our look at Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, the huge international epic which teamed Mel Gibson and Tina Turner together and had an amazing soundtrack. So go and check it out, our look at Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome on Fandom Podcast Network.
Well, g'day, mate. How you going? Well, that is the end of the episode here at, of course, the Fantha from Down Under. And I want to thank Eric for being on the show, and you'll be able to catch Eric in a couple of weeks' time for the second part of his interview here on the show. And while we're at it, we're going to chat about a little bit about what's upcoming here in the next month or two of the show. I'm going to be out and about doing the tour. That's right. I'll be touring around looking at the local Comic Cons. That's right. Here in Australia, believe it or not, we have people from the other end of the world coming down here to Australia to see us, the Star Wars fans down here, and show off what they've got to show us, which is, of course, new films, new TV shows, new books, you name it. And, of course, we have Darth Maul. That's right, Darth Maul, all the way from the UK. He's coming down here to see us and tell us all about what it's like to be a Sith Lord. And, of course, to be Snake Eyes in G.I. Joe. I can't wait. And, of course, we're hooking up a chat with him as soon as he gets here in the Gold Coast or Brisbane or wherever. And we've also got a lot of Great science fiction talent like Keira Dalley and Gary Lookwood, of course, of 2001. Of course, Gary's also in Star Trek, the first episode with, of course, Captain James T. Kirk. So we'll be chatting to them and getting their thoughts on the current era of fandom. But I hope you've enjoyed the episode tonight, and don't forget to jump on iTunes and leave a review up there. Let people know what you've enjoyed about the Fantha from Down Under, and of course even our sister podcast, Making Tracks. We'll catch you next week, next Saturday on Fantha Tracks Radio's The Fantha from Down Under. I'm Adam O'Brien. May the Force be with you.